Hello there. Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to look at the concept of how worry and trauma and anxiety hijack our imagination. This concept came to me when I was rereading a book that I read once, obviously rereading it again. It's really, really good. It's called The Body Keeps Score. I want to get this right. This author's name is Bessel Van der Kolk, MD. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that well. He does a great job in this book about talking about how brain develops in a way that kind of has trauma really becoming a challenging aspect of our life. And for those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know why this is. Remember, we got these 3 parts of the brain. Lower part of the brain is called the brainstem. This is the fight or flight part of the brain. It's the part of the brain that regulates our muscle tension, heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, etc. Middle part of the brain is called the limbic system. Some people call it the emotional brain. Upper 80% of the brain is called the neocortex. I call it the top of the mind. That's where life from the top of the mind comes from. Because what I've learned and what I go around teaching is that this middle brain acts as a gatekeeper. Or in today's terminology, it acts as a scanner, a processor, and a router. It scans incoming data or any thoughts that happen to pop into its awareness and analyzes them or interprets them, and then either routes them down to that lower brain or up to the upper 80% of the brain, the neocortex. Now, it interprets things as one of 3 ways, either positive, neutral, or negative. Positive or neutral has no threat involved, so it sends it up to the upper 80% of the brain. Unfortunately, it interprets almost anything negative as dangerous and throws us into the part of the brain that's designed to deal with danger, because its mission on the planet is to keep us alive as a species, and the way it does that is by keeping us worried about bad things happening. So when we've experienced trauma in the past, what the middle brain does is it keeps bringing it up over and over and over, thinking that if we're worried about it, we won't let it happen again. If we've experienced anxiety in the past, it does the same thing. Or if we just find ourselves worrying about something or feeling anxious about something, this middle brain latches onto it, thinking that if we are worried, we will be safe. And this is where the imagination comes in. Now, the imagination is very powerful and very important. The author of the book, The Body Keeps Score, does a really nice job of kind of speaking to the importance of it. He says, imagination is absolutely critical to the quality of our lives. It gives us the opportunity to envision new possibilities, and it's an essential launch pad for making our hopes and dreams come true. It fires our creativity, relieves our boredom, alleviates our pain, enhances our pleasure, and enriches our most intimate relationships. And that's true. It can do all of those wonderful things when it is driven by the upper 80% of the brain. But when the imagination becomes worry or anxiety, it becomes driven by this lower 20% of the brain, or the limbic system brainstem, which remember is all about keeping us safe in a dangerous situation. And it uses this very powerful tool to keep us worried and keep us anxious. And have you noticed that when you're worried about something or anxious about something, you've got a pretty clear image of what that looks like or feels like, certainly in terms of how it feels in our body, and maybe even sometimes exactly what it looks like, what we're worried about. You know, I talk to a lot of people about being able to imagine a different way, and they go, well, really I'm not very good at imagining. I'm not very creative, I don't visualize things. And I go, really? So when you're worried about something, aren't you pretty clear about what you're worried about? They go, oh yeah, well I am. Well, see, that is our imagination. And what has happened without us knowing it is this middle brain, this lower brain has hijacked our imagination and is kind of using it against us, thinking it's keeping us safe, by the way. And in a fight or flight situation, in a situation when we are truly in danger, we need to be aware of that, and we need to find a lot of imaginary ways of getting out of that. So imagination, when we are in a fight or flight dangerous situation, is perfect. But have you noticed how few of the situations we encounter on a daily basis are truly fight or flight in nature? How little of what we worry about often comes true. There is a slide on one of my presentations I have. It's a tombstone, and it says, 90% of what killed me never happened. And that's our imagination being used against us, because it throws us into that lower brain, which really kind of starts getting us ready for fight or flight. But often, since what we're worried about, or that trauma that's kind of getting brought up again, it isn't happening at the moment, what we're worried about isn't happening at the moment, there's really nothing we can do about it in the moment, we feel powerless, which throws us right back down into the lower brain, because the middle brain interprets powerlessness as negative or dangerous, throws us right down back into that lower brain. We get trapped in this lower brain, feeding our imagination in ways that only serve to trigger adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, the stress hormones, messes with our blood pressure, heart rate, just not good for us in any way. So what I want us to be able to do is to be able to imagine in a more purposeful way, in a way that's more about the solution than the problem, in a way we would recommend to someone we love. In order to do that, we've got to be coming from this purposeful part of the brain, this clear, confident, creative part of the brain. So this is what I get to do. I get to go around the world teaching people how to access this clear, confident, creative part of the brain, how to shift from that lower brain when we find ourselves anxious, frustrated, worried, how to shift from the lower brain to the clear, confident, creative part of the brain, change the chemical makeup of the body from adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol to serotonin and endorphins, and begin to use this very powerful tool in a way that allows us to begin to move forward, imagining more of what we want, more of how we want to get there, much more of an optimistic, solution-focused perspective than this worried, anxious, traumatic experience that so many of us find ourselves trapped in. This is what I love to do. It's what I get paid to do. I would love to come and do this for you in your organization. If you feel this would be valuable for your school, your church, your people in your organization, or, just folks making better decisions, we want to be coming from this clear, confident, creative part of the brain versus that worried part of the brain. All you got to do, go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, or just Google Bill Crawford PhD. I'll come up on the first page. Hit the contact button. Let me know what you're interested in. Love to talk with you about that. So what I'm doing on a regular basis is trying to post one of these videos, take a concept that I find interesting, tie the neuroscience to it. There's a couple of new scientific perspectives that I'm finding really valuable. One of them is called interpersonal neurobiology, and the other one's called intrapersonal neurobiology, where we can start to understand and affect and influence how we think, how we feel, the chemicals that we're putting into our body based on what part of the brain we're in. I've created a system called Life from the Top of the Mind, 3-part system, shows you how to shift to that clear, confident, creative part of the brain, how to stay there, how to live there, how to have that part of the brain become a habitual place from where you start imagining and thinking. And then, if you are someone who is influential in other people's lives, how to get other people to shift from their resistant brain to their receptive brain so they truly hear and understand what you're wanting them to know. So if you find your imagination kind of being hijacked by either trauma or worry or anxiety, and you find yourself just kind of ruminating and find yourself trapped in that cycle, now you know exactly what's going on. If you'd like my help in changing that, again, feel free to pick up the book, Life from the Top of the Mind. You can get it from Amazon, my website, or call me, email me, contact me, and I'd love to come to your organization, your family, and help you guys change that. In the meantime, here's to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.